Russia has had a rough couple of months, whether it's losing part of their own territory to the Ukrainians, failing in Pokrovsk, or getting driven back near Toretsk. Wherever Russia hopes to achieve success, the Ukrainians are there to meet them. And some of that success is owed to you guys, the viewers of the channel. And you guys know that I love accountability and transparency. So in the interest of that, we're going to take a look at all the units that have been benefiting from your guys' fundraising efforts to bankroll the Kursk offensive. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is, of course, Ukraine Adops. These guys, I love working with them. In large part because of their commitment to transparency, right? You can literally go on their YouTube channel, you can go on their Twitter, and you can see literally everyone who's gotten some of the assistance that you guys raised for the originally the Kursk offensive, but literally the fundraiser was so successful that, in fact, it had to be expanded to include basically units across the front line. We were basically able to meet all the units who had put in requests for gear. You can see that between us, Ukraine Matters, and Warthog Defense, we raised literally almost $500,000 for, again, originally they were hoping to just help one of the drone units in the 22nd Mechanized Brigade, but after a couple of weeks, we just blew right by it with thousands of donations. And we're going to take a look at what units have received here, but more importantly, the fact that we're stepping up and we're going to talk about a new effort, right? Just sort of to keep things fresh. But let's take a look here. This is one of the units that got stuff, was the 3rd Assault Brigade, getting 10 drones operating outside of Kharkiv.
3-ї ШБР 2-го механізованого батальйону. Дякуємо фонду Ukraine and Ops за ці 10 Mavic 3 Pro.
From our side, we would like to thank the YouTube channels Warthog Defense, Ukraine Matters, and Combat Veteran React for their continued support of our fundraisers. Slava Ukraini!
Okay, so you guys know what these guys have been up to, right? This looks like a series of drones and eco-pros. Now, the nice thing about Ukraine Adops is, again, they're a US 501c3, so they're not going to be providing lethal aid to Ukraine. But again, FPV drones, very valuable in this conflict. And the eco-flows, or generators are like batteries. But what I want to point out in Kharkiv, you've still got a lot of the fighting. Again, they're likely actually operating here in Vovchansk, where the Russian forces have been trying and largely failing. You can see there's been a small, what they consider an adjustment here, just narrowing kind of the area listed as contested. Again, Ukrainians and Russian forces both dug in, and again, the Russians pretty much, their ambitions in Kharkiv are largely contained. It doesn't look like you're going to see a ton of offensive actions, but again, when you look at the sort of updates, you can see the Russian forces are continuing to push in the Vovchansk and Lipsy direction. So we are happy to be able to give those guys some extra drones and some extra gear to help drive those Russian forces back. But that's not the only place. We're also helping out a special intelligence unit. Again, I worked in the Department of Homeland Security for a number of years, so I have again, bias towards some of this intel operations. Oh, let's get this off here.
This delivery was possible thanks to your donations to the fundraiser.
Yeah, we've all been there. And you can see, again, one of the reasons they censor this out is, well, they're an intelligence unit, and even some routine background can sometimes place these units where they're operating. And so they routinely blur this sort of stuff out. But again, you could see these guys have their unit t-shirts on, and you could see the stuff that is provided. Here's the Starlinks. There's some of the thermal sights. And we know that, again, the ability to see at night, man, is a tremendous advantage that Ukrainians can get over Russian forces, which largely don't have this equipment. Again, sort of a smattering of units will have it, but the ability to really operate outside of daylight hours is a massive advantage if your enemy doesn't have it.
to help Kursk direction. Even though the guys are not fighting in Kursk direction, they're fighting in Kharkiv region. And we have, the fundraiser was massive, and we have notified all our donors that will be helping all the units that are close by. So very big thanks to everyone who has donated. Thanks to our friends from Combat Veteran React, Ukraine Matters, and Warthog Defense for their continued support of our fundraisers. Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
So again, you can see these guys here fighting in Kharkiv. As we've talked about, you get that advantage over your enemy. And frankly, if your enemy has these thermals, you want to have them too, right? You don't want to grant the enemy any kind of advantages. Oh, I'm sorry. These aren't thermals. These are actually PVS-14s. Even better, right? 2 Starlinks and a drone jammer and 2 EcoFlows. PVS-14's a really high-end, an extremely high-end, actually, night vision device, right? That is the same ones that actually we carried in Afghanistan. The PVS-14s and the PVS-7s were excellent helmet-mounted night vision devices. Again, something that actually, when you have these low light infrared night vision devices, you can really see a lot, especially drones. Like we used to, I actually would sit there from our fob. We could look out over the mountains in Nangarhar province, and we could actually see some of the CIA's drones flying overhead. We knew they weren't because we knew they weren't U.S. Army drones, and nobody else controlled them. But you would watch them sort of fly overhead into the Pakistan border, doing CIA stuff. But you wouldn't see them at daylight, or you definitely couldn't see them without the drones. But because they would have these IR beacons that would make them easier to recover if they went down or to spot, we could watch them. So really good quality, powerful stuff we're hooking those guys up with. And again, here's, let's see, here we go. We've also got some snipers. That's right. Happy to bankroll a sniper team. And these guys looking geared out. Okay. Shout out to these dudes. Again, check out the backpacks. Damn, those are sick.
We're making another delivery to Kursk direction, and this is off.
Damn, they're not even publicly acknowledging that these guys are in the area. And you can see there's a conspicuous lack of patches here, which is pretty interesting. Again, this looks like purportedly a sniper team, and you can see the scopes on these rifles. They're very, very high-end scopes, very powerful scopes. Even an M4 carbine length, you can get out to 600 meters, which, the average designated marksman or sniper shot in I don't know about this conflict, but in the global war on terror was only around 300 meters. In an urban area, right, unaided line of sight, that's enough. Right? Good luck spotting somebody low in a field, reaching out, touching you at 300 meters. So again, the accuracy's there. It's the shooter and the scope and the spotter that make the shot difficult.
Airborne forces of Ukraine. We have bought them very cool stuff. These are the snipers. So we got them Trigicon scopes, sniper.
Oh, I didn't realize they had the Tritium scopes. Tritium scopes are great because that tritium is, if they're like the ones we carried in Afghanistan, they're powered by a tiny, small piece of radioactive material. And that radioactive material, which has a half-life of 40 years or more, projects that tiny reticle holographically onto the rifle or the scope, the glass of the scope, which means that there's no battery changing. It is always a fully functional, always on holographic sight, which is awesome. And it really would allow, for example, a sniper team, let's say you're in position for 24 or 48 hours, you may run into problems with your battery life, right? Especially if you're in position, you don't have a spare battery, and you can't sit there and pull out those little batteries from your scopes. So again, awesome to see them get top tier optics.
Backpacks.
Right. Also, the cool sniper backpacks. I don't know what else to tell you. Jammer for their car, which is sick.
A jammer for their car. Some power banks and some other small things that they would.
Snipers love small things. And notice here, I think these are actually life straws. Again, these are guys who are out. That is all the stuff, right? Small power banks to charge up your phones, sniper backpacks, again, always on tritium scopes, life straws. All this says to me is that these guys aren't just a sniper team. They're a sniper team that is expected to be outside, operating away from any kind of logistic support for a very long period of time. These guys are here to really go bushwhacking.
Need while being on the operation. We would like to thank YouTube channels, Combat Veteran Reacts, Ukraine Matters, and Warthog Defense for their continued support and for especially supporting this fundraiser to help the guys in this direction. Thank you.
Дякуємо нашій рімельці і фонду Ukraine Adops за допомогу нам і за це обладнання, яке було придбано для нас, щоб ми і далі успішно звільняли нашу Україну.
Again, I want to point out, looks like they're really working Rima hard, which makes sense. Again, the scale of this gear, it sounds like you've got to understand, guys, that they're used to seeing like fundraising amounts in the $4,000 or $5,000, right? So suddenly they're deploying a lot, and they are a small team, which is awesome because again gives you a really good sense of kind of the accountability. But man, it is so much work. But you can see, guys, 13 days ago, they got it for the 8th Regiment in Sof in Kursk. They got anti-thermal coats. Check them out. Check out their anti-thermal coats here. Just a quick look at what these look like through a thermal sight. That is pretty cool, actually.
Дякуємо Риміні Колосян за надані антитепловізійні пончо. Тепер ми станемо ще смертельними.
Right? So we got, I mean, just the scale of what has been provided so far in the last, and let's see, 11 days ago, more drones, more jammers. So here's just a compilation of all the guys just sending stuff out right and left, really getting these guys just as much as they can. Shout out to some of these dudes who, again, I point out that, when you're in position, sometimes you get a pass. You get to dress however you want, especially when you're a certain level of unit, right? But you see these guys out here just getting an absolute ton of stuff. I also want to point out that, let's see if we can find it here. Some of these guys are actually just, so supposedly when they're on kind of their rotations anyway, they will go out and pick up some of this gear, right? So some of these guys are back in the front, some of them are not, but you can see just all the stuff these guys are getting. It's awesome. So again, this is like, they are just so busy to try to get this stuff out there. And one of the things I want to point out is that, they have opened up a new fundraiser, actually, for the guys in Pokrovsk. And we are going to try to get some more stuff for them, including the recently deployed National Guard brigade, who's responsible for trying to block this Russian advances. And they're saying especially, the need is especially great for FPVs. So if you want to help stop the Russian advance in the Pokrovsk direction, then the 53rd Brigade, 79th are asking for our help. Are looking for drones like Mavics, Autels, FPVs, drone jammers especially, relays, range extenders for the drones, thermal devices, and more. Of course, 51C3. And if you want the patch or flag from these Air Assault Brigade folks, you see where we're at, right? $250 donation gets you that. There's also, of course, some of the cool wall patches that you should absolutely get out. And again, I'm going to drop a donation for them here in a second, but you guys should too. And I'm going to put the link in the description so we can help get the guys in Pokrovsk the same level of support we got to absolutely shellac the Russians in Kharkiv. No reason to, again, give Putin more, let Putin make gains in Pokrovsk, even as he's trying to contain the situation in Kursk, right? Make his life hard. Make the Russians' life hard, especially given the fact that they're out there buying influencers. But boy, howdy, I could tell you an influencer whose audience isn't going to. There's a reason the Russians never came to me, because they're like, listen, I know this guy's audience. They're not gonna buy any Russian talking points. If they offer me that money, I can tell you exactly where it's gonna go. It'll be buying more FPV drones, right? Nothing quite like we're using Russian tax dollars to destroy Russians. And that'd be a good way to get thrown out a window, right? Anyway, guys, thanks to the guys who support this channel. Keep me independent, able to do this. Martin Baum, Chris Rossi, Stuart Abel, Daniel Brown, Sergey Zinchenko, Chris Holmes, Chris Gorsuch, as well as all the lieutenant tier members. Be sure to subscribe. That doesn't cost you anything. Again, the link is in the description, though, to that Pokrovsk fundraiser. You should absolutely check it out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.